Hello and welcome to the Toucan Echo podcast. I'm Harry.
I'm James.
And we're Toucan Echo. How's it going, James?
Good, thank you. Those of you watching on video form, YouTube, you'll see that our setting has become more homely, more, what's that Danish word? Hygge.
Hygge.
It's become more hygge. We are sat next to a log burning stove right now, drinking some wine. Harry's in his dressing gown attire, and we're going to discuss things.
Yeah.
So maybe we should explain the setting of the podcast, because although they won't be able to see it on the audio version, they'll hopefully be able to hear some crackle of some flames.
So, me and James are currently in the south of France. It's November. We're in a tiny village where all the houses don't have heating.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got wood burners instead. There's a church.
That rings every hour.
We are really getting down with the locals, integrating.
We said bonjour to a few people today.
And then they said, "How are you?" I froze. What was it? How are you?
You got well ratted out. It's all straight through you.
What was how are you?
Ça va?
Ça va? Yeah, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, merci. I don't think I was particularly polite because all I could think of was good thanks. There was a really friendly Frenchman washing his van in this tiny village. We were just like, "Hi, good, thanks," and then walked off. But hey, we're English. We're trying our best. Other languages are a disaster for us.
So we're basically taking some time between what was a very busy October, where we had the gig, and in our personal lives we're moving out of London into Leeds. So we were sourcing all sorts of stuff. And we basically escaped to France to finish the album.
Yeah.
Much like Oasis did when they were escaping the paparazzi.
Not that you make an Oasis reference. Harry's not the biggest Oasis fan, but now they're his inspiration in terms of. I was reading about Oasis. Are you talking about their third album, or was that a different one?
I can't remember
Was
which one it was. It was maybe it was their fourth album.
I was reading about Be Here Now because I've got reissued semi recently, and I hadn't listened. Not actually ever listened to that album before, but everyone just said it's just cocaine excess. Like the sort of just you think everything you do is amazing, and he did 50 guitar tracks on some of them. It's the most ridiculous sounding thing.
Oh my god!
It's
I haven't listened. What's on Be Here Now, James? Do you remember what are the standouts?
Stand By Me. That's probably the most famous. Yeah. And the one that changes key 5 times.
No, what's it called? All Around the World.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
His voice is still sounding amazing though. I do think his voice is incredible. I've got a memory of when I was younger and went into a hard rock cafe in Dublin and just they were playing some loud Oasis song. I was just like, wow. And maybe it was the first time I'd heard Oasis. It was like, wow, this guy's got the perfect rock voice, and I still sort of think that.
Yeah, because I know a few people that really don't think highly of Liam Gallagher's, or Noel Gallagher's. It's Liam, isn't it?
Yeah,
he does
Liam,
the good vocals.
I think the vocals are incredible, but I'm a big Beatles fan, and he's sort of half John Lennon, half Johnny Rotten from Sex Pistols. He said it himself. That was Oasis.
No, we can reveal our position on Oasis, the Toucan Echo position on Oasis. I don't think they're very good.
I like them, but I like the Beatles.
They're massively overrated. Blur's a much better band, and in terms of Britpop, Stone Roses way better. There's just so many.
Stone Roses Britpop.
Well, they sort of inspired it because Stone Roses.
Are they a bit before?
Yeah, 89 is when Stone Roses' self-titled came out, and that just people went mental for it.
Yeah, so they're a funny band.
They are a weird one. They sound so ahead of their time though. That record is basically timeless. So good.
And they're one of those bands where you could say all their songs sound the same, except they don't. And also, that sound is quite unique.
It's iconic.
And good. So it's not necessarily bad that they sound similar. But then also, those tracks on the album are different. The guitar playing is great. One guitar player.
Yeah.
Lot of, yeah. It's good when a band has one guitar player and people don't notice. Andy Summers,
the drummer,
even Brian May and Queen and stuff.
It's the drummer. Honestly, Stuart Copeland in The Police, backs up.
What makes the guitar player look good, you mean?
Yeah, honestly. And then Rennie of the Stone Roses, absolutely unbelievable. So
what's unbelievable about him? Does he just keep?
It's got absolute
keep
his
time.
Feel is ridiculous, and it's such a subtle thing. Because I didn't really notice when I first got into the Stone Roses, but there's a kind of funny thing is like Stone Roses are a massive band, and no bands ever really cover them. Because they can't, because it's so hard for the drummers to actually play like Rennie does.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. At least that's what I think. It's hard to cover bands like Stone Roses and the Police as well. I mean, the Police have got a unique sound because of other reasons as well. But,
yeah, Police are very unique. Like, if you're covering them, you have to study it quite. It's not sort of like a Bruce Springsteen song or something where you can kind of do it at like a wedding. Like people do Message in a Bottle and stuff, but to really like get that sound is quite hard because they're, 3-piece filling out the sound. Yeah, because we were going to cover a Stone Roses song in an old band. You were going to sing it.
She bangs the drums. Yeah,
I bang the drums.
Yeah.
We never got around to it, but now I know why.
Yeah, we couldn't get it to sound right.
Anyway, like Oasis, we have escaped, retreated into the middle of nowhere in south of France, through through someone you knew had a house here, and we're
family connections.
So they use it in the summer. No one's using it in the freezing cold winter.
Yeah, because it's insane.
So we're like, we'll go because it's freezing cold. So it's just a retreat to finish off the album because it's been a hard one to finish, but we are definitely making progress from being siloed off from the world. It's so cheesy to just go to the middle of nowhere to like focus on creativity, but it does work. You remove all your distractions and you get like a new surrounding, and suddenly you can like do a new approach. So yeah, we've retreated to finish the album. It's going well because literally yesterday finished the first draft of all the like mixes of the album. So it's the first time that the album's all been put together. It's reasonably close, I'd say 95% of the way there, like with some final tweaks to the songs after we've listened to them for a while. And my beta testers. I sent it to some friends who'd either asked about it or Maya actually helped us on the album. She did some strings on one of the songs. So yeah, but we got them listening to it as well.
That's exciting stuff. Having the masters finished, we're going to do a listening session at some point this evening where we listen to it all the way through. For the first time, at least for me, I haven't listened to it all the way through.
I haven't actually listened to it all the way through either. I listened to the demos quite a lot, but not because it's sort of meant to be gapless in places as well. So there is a benefit to listening all the way through, and that's very exciting. Especially for me because I've listened to it always in the context of mixing, like always in the context of, the congas are a bit loud there. There's some congas on some songs. That vocal's a bit trebly, like, got to go in and fix that. And now, like, it's bounced out, and there's still things where I feel like, I'll tweak that and I'll tweak that, but I can list sort of, and I put, like, the work in progress cover art on it and just go, like, right, this is what, like, the album might sound like, rather than, like, mix version 10 Vox up. So that's been hard work, but it's really exciting.
We got there.
Very satisfying.
We got there. How long has it been? 8 months?
I think it's been longer. Like, I mean, we wrote the songs in 2020, so if you go from like when we wrote the songs, it's been a long time. But from deciding to make an album, I think that was February or maybe early March, because we did a few weeks of pre-production before we started recording in late March. So since we started recording, it's been about 8 months.
Yeah, what a journey.
But doing it part-time around like other jobs and stuff. So I still think that's pretty good going.
Not bad.
It takes some bands 5 years to make an album. And we're like, why is it not done in 3 months?
It's because one of our inspirations, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, they knock out 5 a month.
I think it was 2017 they released 5 albums.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
They're actually good as well. Like,
I know.
It's not like just any old trash they threw onto a tape recorder. Like, there's actually some cool songs. Yeah. And they're all like different styles and stuff.
Yeah. That's exciting. And we got a title.
Yeah. I think I did mention it to the email list as a work in progress title a few
months
ago, yeah. I said, we might call it this. well, no, you know, maybe back in June or something.
Yeah.
But publicly, are we going to announce it?
Yeah, of course we are. The album is called Headless Restless. I really botched that, James. Do you want to have a go?
Take 2. Yeah, the album's going to be called Headless/Restless, but we'll refer to it in speech as Headless Restless. We did struggle to come up with a title for it. It was quite hard to put a name on all the... and it always felt like a cohesive thing, and we literally, like, in February or March, put, like, all this paper, like, little scraps of paper out on the floor and, like, arranged it into an album. So it's literally, and we recorded the songs in that order, and we mixed them in that order, basically, and so it has been designed to be an album, but we never had a title for it, and that's been quite hard.
It's such a weird thing about album titles. Like, you want to have a title of this piece of work that is cohesive in the end, but it's not really, like, the themes weren't originally meant to be sort of displayed together. It's almost like a snapshot of where we are and where we have been over the last couple of years. But that doesn't necessarily tie in nicely to one sort of theme. Yeah. So to title it is quite challenging. Yeah. And especially because it feels like a big part of an album. It's what people are going to call it for the rest of eternity. It's just quite a weird process, titling an album.
Yeah. We've never been that good at it.
No, we haven't.
Trace the Halo, terrible.
I've already forgotten that.
Walk to Circus,
yeah,
awful. Headless Restless, will we hate it? Probably eventually, yeah, but for now...
In a year's time we'll come back to you.
But for now I quite like it. I think it actually does sum up, like, some of the broader themes, like, in the album. I mean, the truth is it was written, like, during lockdown and during sort of, I guess, turbulent times, and not just turbulent times, but, like, times where you can't really, like, go outside or, like, expand your horizons that much. Like, yeah, everything felt restricted. I think I talked about this before on the podcast, but it's like, it's not just that you physically were restricted, you had to stay indoors, or, like, you couldn't meet up with your friends or whatever. It's like you felt confined, like, kind of more in your head than being able to go outside and kind of enact what you imagine you wanted to do, or kind of, I don't know, chase your dreams, or whatever cheesy thing it is. So, and sort of combined with that is, like, getting more into meditation and that sort of stuff. Like, and one of the things of meditation is having no head, so being headless. So I quite like the idea of headless restless, and headless is not necessarily, it's not meant to be like headless chicken kind of panic. Even that's what it sounds like. I actually think of it as this, like, having no head meditation thing, where, like, you're actually trying to get out of your head, and this idea that it's all about and I think from this certain place and stuff you imagine, or what if you didn't have a head, like, you know, where would all your thoughts come from and stuff.
Wow. Well, you have a very different interpretation of the title.
Okay, what do you interpret it as?
Well, I actually go for more of that headless chicken panic approach. Not quite that extreme, but some of the times that I think are most important, in my experience, are the times when I don't have much of a direction. I don't know where to go. I feel a bit headless. And when I feel headless, I'm a bit uncomfortable. I'm restless. And that, you know, when I feel like that, I want to put in the work to actually figure out where I'm going and understand a bit more about myself to get back to that state of not being headless and therefore not being restless. Yeah. So the times where I feel like I have the most improvement over sort of the times where I improve the most are those times where I don't particularly have much of a direction. I'm a bit sort of on edge. So while it's uncomfortable in the moment, you look back and you benefit from those times.
Oh, interesting. I have, like, it's interesting that you see the headless bit as being bad, but the restless bit as being a way to solve the headlessness, if I've interpreted that right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas I see it as, like, the headless bit, which the headless bit being kind of zen in the moment, observation, kind of dreamy, and then restless being, I guess, agitated, but also a little bit of like, kind of how you're using it as well, like ambition, restless to, like, move forward. So, because sometimes I find a contradiction in, like, meditation of, like, oh, all life is just a series of moments, and all you have to do is just sit back and absorb the moment, and, like, that's all that life is. And
that's a bit too.
But part of me is quite restless to go on and, like, do things. So Yeah, I think our interpretations are a little bit similar and a little bit different. But that's cool. That's cool. It's nice. Maybe that's why we picked it. Maybe we just we both thought, yeah, that's right, but we had different ideas of why it was right.
But that's good though. That's different interpretations. I like it.
Mm.
So we titled the album
Headless Restless.
What else are we doing, James? Out soon.
Probably early 2022, but TBC when we finish creating all the other behind the scenes content or whatever's coming with it.
Oh yeah, all sorts.
Yeah, what else? I mean, I guess that is the biggest thing because we've been working on this album all year, and it meant we're maybe a little bit quieter than we were at the start of the year when we were in lockdown, chucking out singles and content all the time.
Jam clips.
We then said, "Oh, we've got all these songs. Like, we want to do it as a cohesive thing," and that took up a lot of time, a lot of like attention and time. But I think that's been worth it because like we've just got better musicians, like better produced, better songs, better recorded. Like it's made like a big leap in progress. I think actually. So like when we start our next album or EP or single or whatever we do, like we'll just be so much further forward than doing singles because it just deeply focused on each bit. If you get what I mean, deeply focused on the drums, deeply focused on the bass. But that meant that we disappeared a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're back, baby. We're coming back.
We are coming back
with at least 12 new songs. So that's cool.
At least 12. You can have more.
I guess we released 2. Well, we released 2 already, actually, so at least 10. God, I've scaled down the promises already.
Oh, we've got a video coming out soon.
Yeah, that's the next thing.
That's the next thing after the old wine break.
So that's the album update. It's finished mixing. We are creating other content for it before we release it. So it should be released to our email list early next year, most likely. By the time everything is ready and we're past Christmas and stuff.
So plug time. If you're not on the email list, get on the email list.
It's time to get on there now.
Probably sukaneco.com. If not, just message us.
Oh, terrible marketing.
That was horrible. We lost so many people already.
Message us on Facebook if you want to be on the email list, or go to our website and you'll be able to sign up there.
Thing is, they can't right now. That's why I said maybe.
Yeah, you'll update it.
What?
You'll update it before this podcast goes out. It'll be updated. Head of web.
When's it going out? Like next month?
Harry's head of web. So
head of web.
Yeah.
How?
Head of IT.
Hot. Head of IT.
How?
I prefer CIO.
Wouldn't it be CTO? Chief Tech Officer.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Head of web. Head of WordPress.
CTO.
So any website changes go through him.
We're getting lost, James. Anyway, you may have noticed, those on video, that we're drinking wine right now. Because, when in France, that's the saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
nice.
Yeah.
Because usually this is whiskey comment time. Now it's wine.
Yeah, this is wine.
I know nothing about wine, so...
Neither do I. We're learning.
It's red and it's quite tasty, this one. But
yeah. But what you find out when you go to France is that all wine is cheap as fuck. So you basically get a bottle, and this one was like €9 or something, and it's probably going to be quite nice. More nice than what you get for like the same price in the UK. So here we are.
I'm not ready for my next wine yet.
That's fine.
But yeah, so that's happening, and related to the album is the Bitter Dreams, the long-awaited Bitter Dreams video. We released it as a single, don't even know when, August?
No, September surely.
Maybe even later than that. God, my timeline's all over the place. But we released Bitter Dreams as a single at least a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And it's out on Spotify now if you want to listen to it. One of the darker Toucan Echo tracks. So if you want a bit of a different vibe, go check that out. But the video is ready, and that should be coming out next week. So
next
Harry,
week, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Fine.
Just throwing deadlines at you. The website's ready now. The video's out next week. So Harry, tell us about the Bitter Dreams video. As you've championed this,
it's good wine.
You've seen it up through the Youth Academy. Now it's in the first scene.
The Bitter Dreams video is an interesting one because Bitter Dreams is probably the darkest song that we've released as Toucan Echo, and obviously we wanted the video to reflect that. So that coupled with our relatively recent purchase of a green screen, led the obvious choice to be dancing in front of a green screen with some cool video effects. Sort of like what we did for Blind When I See the Sun. So Blind When I See the Sun was a kind of more light-hearted song and therefore a more light-hearted video. So this video, dark, spooky, scary, maybe even some jump scares in there. Who knows? But how can I explain it? I think just watch it when it comes out. It's going to be great.
It can't be described.
Well, I could go ahead and list loads of influences, but I don't really know what my influences were. I just went in with no real plan. We kind of shot footage on a green screen and said, let's make it a bit creepy. So let's do some slow motion shots, and let's do some... there's the opposite effect where you film something slow and then you speed it up to like twice speed, and it makes you look all creepy and sort of like quite distorted. So we did a bit of that. Then the edit, where I go into a hole of self-loathing for about 100 hours and come out with a fully formed video. It's one of those things, like we were talking about this quite a lot, James, but because I'm still quite new to video editing, as I start a new project and as I progress through that project, I get better at video editing. So the start of the video, I always like look back on it and think, oh no, I could have done all this cool stuff because I've learned all the new skills by the end of the video. And I think that's sort of reflected when you watch the video. It sort of starts a bit more amateurish and the effects get better as it sort of goes on.
So you don't go back and update the old effects?
No, that's locked in. That's locked in. I think the other thing was that we got a fancy ass camera, which is the one that those on YouTube are watching right now.
Say hi to the camera.
Yeah. So that was really nice to edit with. Nicer footage. Still lo-fi, because we're a lo-fi band. We don't have high production value.
We're a little bit more crisp than we were on phone cameras.
Yeah, the thing that you can see, watch the slow motion shots of James's hair. Oh, like the fidelity there is unreal.
I'll look at that. Yeah, no, so that's coming out, so it's nice to put another music video out. Anna, our fan on YouTube, will give us our latest music video review. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. Shout out to Anna if you're watching the podcast. We're looking forward to your next review of our music videos because they're always so detailed and so enthusiastic. I absolutely love them.
Yeah. So that's exciting. What else are we doing, James?
I guess
this is news. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we've done the album. That's coming out soon. Sign up for the email list. Bit Dreams video also coming out. That's the latest to Kaneko news. I guess. Oh, those logs are like snow white.
That's hot.
I said this is a very hot fire today. There's something about it. There's something about the composition of this fire that's really chucking out some heat. What else? I mean, we're moving. I don't know if that's of interest to them. No. But yes, we're moving out.
If you're in Leeds, hit us up. We're moving there.
I mean, that is partly music focused. It's partly to like free up a bit of living costs and move to like a good music scene in the UK. Not that London's a bad music scene, but for a sort of more starting out band, like seems like Leeds a bit better, a bit more tight knit. So let's see how that goes. But that's very exciting. But we have to find a new practice space before we bring the full band live stream back. So that's happening after we're back from France, which is exciting. What otherwise? Let's sort of go like what music you've been listening to. What sort of stuff are you into right now?
I've recently listened to a few albums. Silk Sonic's album, debut album's been quite good. Silk Sonic. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak coming together to make a soulful supergroup.
Oh right.
Recommend a listen. It's worth it. But it's quite short, but it's good. Who else? Damon Albarn of Blur and Gorillaz. He released a solo album. That's good. Worth a listen. Quite a bit more experimental than stuff that he's done under his solo name previously. So that's good. Who else? There's a band called Parcels that I quite like. They're sort of a funk group that was produced by Daft Punk. Their album's alright. There's a great song called Famous on it, which is just happy as fuck, and I really enjoy that track. What else have I been listening to? You go, James.
I mean, I've just been mixing. I've been listening to Teak and Echo non-stop for like the last 2 weeks.
And reference songs.
Yeah, some reference songs, which really takes the fun out of listening to music. It's going, oh, I like this song you like, but how's the kick drum so much better than my track? That's basically my listening to music. So I've had music that I like the mixes of.
Mm-hmm.
Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, bit bassy, but New Light by John Mayer. And then sometimes more extreme stuff, just to know whether I'm going too far. So some Taylor Swift songs for the extreme treble.
You listen to the Red Taylor Swift version?
No.
Okay. I haven't listened to it either. It's on my list.
I listened to some of her. What was her first album?
I don't remember.
Because she's doing it. This is like the second one of her versions. I listened to a bit of the new version of her first album. I can't remember the name of it. God. But I quite liked the new. I did think the mixes on the new one were better. They just sounded better.
Mm.
And she's like better singer now, but she's pretty good before. Like the old ones,
Yeah.
they're pretty good. Although I was streaming them to compare them, and I was like, oh, do I get in trouble for streaming the old one? Am I gonna get hounded by someone by
the Swift army?
Yeah, just like, I'm sorry, what are you doing? You're not listening to Taylor's version. So what have I been listening to? Not really like extensive album listening sessions right now. I'll hopefully get back into that once my ears have recovered from the onslaught of mixing. I'm still into my same phases right now. Joni Mitchell's my number one. I think recently the kind of best album listening experience I had was Blue. Like, it's so cliche because everyone knows that Blue's like an amazing album, but I hadn't actually listened to it all the way through before. And I just really liked it. Thought it was like really intense, personal, but like in a kind of catchy sort of songwritery way. I'm also listening to a Paul Simon audiobook right now, where Paul Simon talks through his whole songwriting life. So it's not really his life, but his like creative life, which is so interesting to me. I love that.
Yeah, I'm quite intrigued by that.
I mean, he's a genius. Like
he is a genius. How old was he when he was in Simon and Garfunkel?
That's a good question. Quite young. I think he's about 80 now.
Yeah.
And Simon and Garfunkel was like mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
So you could probably work it out.
Oh, man. God. 25.
Yeah. I don't think they were super young. I don't think they were like 19. I think they were like late 20s or something. Because then when he did Graceland, in the 80s, he was about 40 something.
Yeah. That's wild. The songs he writes are just so good. Like, Simon and Garfunkel in particular, those songs just have some sort of quality to them. I always listen to them and they're always just absolutely amazing.
Well, maybe it's them singing together, like
there's something about that.
Like they always used to sing around the same mic, I think. Well, not always, but they would usually record them around the same mic because they just couldn't get the same sound, like recording them separately and putting them together. I think it was like in the box they recorded them like in the echo chamber, like they actually like went in and sang in there or something.
Really?
Which is maybe on the not sure.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because he's a really meticulous like songwriter. So like his analysis of his own songs is really good because he can talk you line by line and go like, oh, I meant that there and not that, and like this is a double meaning. And so from a being interested in songwriting point of view, to hear like a great songwriter break it down like that is like really interesting. Because I've said before, but like listening to his songs gives somehow like with not that many words paints quite a vivid picture for me, and quite like being able to match like just an emotion or a kind of true like human sort of emotion through also like painting a picture, or also just pointing out like a detail in a story, and you go and he's not quite saying something literally, he's sort of inferring something, but it makes sense. It's very hard to articulate how I feel about Paul Simon songs.
Yeah.
But for instance, in this audiobook, like Sting was talking about the song America. Yeah. And he says like it's sort of if it was done by like a songwriter who wasn't as skilled as Paul Simon, it's very easy to make that kind of too grandiose or almost like corny, like I'm going to find America, but like he does it through like describing really specific details of like the trip, so it makes it really immersive. It's all like a pack of cigarettes and it's like so and so's pies and I fell asleep on a bus and stuff. And then like the choruses are like we walked off to look for America, like
it's more the sort of gritty detail.
Yeah, so which paints a picture of like a road trippy kind of sort of thing.
Is that why Sting wrote English Man in New York? Did he do it in a similar style?
Maybe. I mean, Sting does it a little bit as well.
Yeah,
Sting's a little bit more like, to me, he's more like short stories.
Yeah.
So his line's a bit more punchy, I think.
Yeah.
So I say like the first lines of like Police songs are always like, just launch you straight into the story. Like, here's the plot. Which you can do for like Message in a Bottle or like.
What's the other one? Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, or Don't Stand So Close to Me. That's the one.
Yeah.
Don't Stand So Close.
Yeah.
to
So
me.
he can like in a couple of words like just set up a situation. I don't think Paul Simon does that as much, but he probably does a bit. But even the first line of The Boxer, he was talking like, I'm just a poor boy, my story is seldom told. And he's like, I don't sing it like that now because I don't think it's authentic for me to sing it like that now. So it's like, so I used to be able to sing it like that and embody the character, but now he goes like, a poor boy. And if you watch him play it now, like he does sing it that way. So it's the level of detail and thought that goes into like his songs are what I really like.
That's fantastic.
And also he talks. I'm just ranting about Paul Simon now.
No, carry on.
Also he talks about this idea that like the songs didn't come from him; it came through him. Like Bridge Over Troubled Water and stuff. He's like, that was like say the first one that you're sort of a conduit for it, and you're kind of just capturing it rather than like really going. I came up with Bridge Over Troubled. Like I created that song. It's sort of like that song came to me, and I like managed to capture it and transmit it properly.
I relate to that in any creative pursuit though. With the Bitter Dreams video,
Equally,
I'm talking about creative pursuits.
Yeah. No, I'm
joking. My process was just sort of fumbling around in Final Cut Pro, trying to find cool effects. I don't see much kind of. I didn't really intend to make that, but when I saw something, I was like, let's keep that, and that works well with this other bit that I randomly came across. I put a lot of work into it, but it feels a bit disingenuous saying that's mine. It was a lot of kind of trial and error, sort of navigating through a path. Maybe that's different to a song just coming down through like an antenna kind of receiving thing, but I can relate to that. I can relate to that feeling of not honestly being able to take full credit for a song.
Yeah, and especially when you write something that iconic, like, and that good, you very rarely find maybe like, I was going to say maybe Noel Gallagher's like that, but not really. Even he says like, oh, that just like, I just kind of came up with it and it wasn't really like, he sort of describes everyone. He's like, you've got me, Bono, Chris Martin, we're all just fishing. Just trying to catch it before Chris Martin gets it. Like, the next like great melody, if you get what I mean. And he's
That's
just
so
like got that like antenna for it. So it's very interesting because that comes up with like a lot of songwriters talking that way, and I'd say it's an experience that I'm getting like more and more. Although at the same time, I would say like I don't feel like the songs that I write just were written in the air and are like they're not very general. They feel very specific to like how I feel, but at the same time, I don't write them that consciously. So people go like, "Oh, what's that song about?" It's like it's very hard for me to just say this is exactly what I intended when I wrote it, because like it's sort of 50% intention. It's like getting chucked a piece of marble and you just kind of, but it's a bit warped, and you go like, oh well, that looks a bit like a dog. And then you just do the last bits to make it into a dog. So I didn't decide it to be a dog. I just noticed it looked a bit like a dog and then finished it off.
That's
Marble
great.
sculpture of a dog.
I like that. Oh, this bit of marble looks a bit like a dog, so I'll just finish it off.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's what my process is like. It's not as elegant, but it's like that's why half of our stuff's sort of made up on the spot, at least in the initial form, and then like kind of refine the words a bit and tidy it up a bit. But some of the songs on the album are literally there's a song on the album called Tokyo Fire Dance Illusions, and that is basically lifted from a jam that we did, like the whole thing. Because like for fun in the jam, I threw in like a little fragment of a song that never got finished from like university days, and then went back into the riff because we were just jamming, and then that is what the song is now. Like that just worked. So it's almost transcribing what your subconscious just throws out. So yeah. Anyway, long rant. But I've not been listening to that much music, but I'm really into the just great songwriters right now.
What's that Paul Simon book called?
Miracle and Wonder. It's an audio book on Audible. And yeah, and he's interviewed by people who are like quite into the sort of, not just into music as a fan, but like into asking him the really detailed questions, like and doing like research around it as well. Like, oh, was this chorus from here like related to your Jewish upbringing? Because it sounds a lot like this Jewish folk song and stuff. Like, it's quite in the weeds, but like it's great to get in the weeds with.
You love that. Yeah.
With like
absolute icon.
Yeah, an iconic person.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, problem is hard to find. I do find it hard to find stuff that's as satisfying as Joni Mitchell, Paul Simon, Neil Young, like the Beatles. I just love that stuff. Grateful Dead. I find it hard to top that stuff. Like even I got quite obsessed with the White Stripes and stuff, but that's more of a sound and a vibe than like pure like songwriting, like human experience captured in song.
And do you think, I mean, how much of that is because the music's old? Is it at all because the music's old? Is your sense of enjoyment warped by the fact that it's like old music and a bit more immortalised?
I can't say. I don't know. My general experience is that I think I just like that style of music. I just connect with it. I'm not necessarily saying it's conclusively better. I think like I just listened to a lot of the Beatles and Queen and stuff when I was younger, and that's like for my taste, and therefore like hopping around other bands of that sort of era rather than now like just connects with me a bit more because like, oh, that sounds like what I'm familiar with or like I enjoy. It's probably more where it comes from than like the songs are better, but I have the, usually people of the slightly like older generation than me have the same thing of just like, oh, this music gives me that thing, but like I can't find stuff that came out yesterday that gives me that thing. But like no, I still connect with songs and albums that come out more, like recently, but it doesn't, for some reason it doesn't get me like that.
I think the reason I ask is because when I'm listening to Spotify and a random song comes on a playlist or a radio or whatever, and I'm liking the song and I see that it's released in like 1972 or something, I instantly get like, oh, that's like great, and like I instantly feel more drawn to that song. I think more highly of it, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out, but it could be because it makes it a bit more original if it's really old, or here's a thought that I just had, is because the 70s and 60s were so different to how we live right now, you feel more transported by the music. You're transported into a more different time.
Maybe.
And that's sort of, that's a lot of what I look to get out of music, is being taken away and transported to somewhere. So maybe it's that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm into guitar music as well. And I said the peak of guitar music was 60s and 70s really, in terms of like, that was just when it was like mainstream. You had lots of like iconic people. It was a golden era of music. There were a lot of great bands there. But I don't know. It's and I can definitely go like on Spotify Discover and find like songs I like. But yeah, as a music fan, I do enjoy the history of like the albums as well, and the like stories around it, and the photos, and the fact you have to like dig a little bit to find out about it. So I do enjoy that side a bit, but don't know, just not exclusively. But I'd say generally I gravitate back towards that stuff because partly the way it's recorded as well is all like in a room, so I find it quite immersive. I feel like I'm in a studio, and like I like the sounds, like style the sounds a bit more, like when it's a bit less produced and separated and that kind of thing. But hey, it's annoying because all my favourite bands are dying or dead. Can't go and see them. Gotta go try and see the Grateful Dead at some point. I think that'd be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Dead and Company.
Oh, they need to tour. We looked them up and they're only playing in one random resort in America.
And they're doing a few more now. Yeah.
Are they?
It's opened up a bit more, but yeah, it's all in America right now.
Yeah.
Because, COVID situation. But hey, that's music. Quite enjoying like artsy films right now. We watched 1 or 2 films.
What did we watch? What was that Chinese film called?
Sun?
Sun.
The Sun?
Yeah, I think it was called Sun.
Like
The Sun.
that
That was good.
was really good.
On Netflix. Then we watched.
Perfect.
Then we watched Clockwork Orange, which was the second time we watched it, and I enjoyed it.
Traumatizing.
It was traumatizing. That was a traumatizing film. Makes me want to read the book though.
At least I had the kind of artsiness of the film to take me away from the horrors of the plot.
That's what I love about that film, and also 2001, because Stanley Kubrick directed them both, and he did 2001 in 1968, and then Clockwork Orange in 1971.
Yeah.
And they're very similar in their sort of shots. Every shot is just a fantastic looking scene, and that, to your point, distracts a bit from the traumatic content. Particularly in Clockwork Orange.
The redeeming feature,
Yeah.
So I did feel a bit shaken by that film. I know I was meant to feel shaken.
Yeah.
But I ended up enjoying it. But mostly for the... It's quite weird. I quite like stuff that's quite weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Don't have much else like music stuff going on. Need to start listening to a bit more. I'm following rugby a bit more right now. Getting back into like sport, following a bit. Trying to like follow my instinct a bit more, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
Generally.
I agree.
I'm bad at it, but I'm trying to get better at it. Like I question myself all the time. But like, right now there's like England rugby matches on. I'm quite enjoying following sort of the build up to it and stuff, which I haven't for a while. Not extensively, but I just sort of like look it up a bit each day.
Great shit.
Yeah, but rugby's hard because like you can't really like get back into playing it that easily without like breaking your shoulder every weekend
And taking steroids.
Yeah, like club rugby is quite rough.
Yeah.
Remember like Howell at uni used to play for like
Yeah.
a local team, and he's like first match he played. I mean, he was massive, and he ended up in like the centre or something because he was one of the smaller people playing. It's like everyone there was just huge at this like club game. It's like, oh my god, I would get annihilated. But he was just like, I was a ruck on my first game. Someone just punched me in the face. Just like welcome to sort of Saturday morning like casual rugby. It was just like, oh, I love the game of rugby, but I can never do that. Sort of like half bar fight, half sport. But yeah, I enjoy watching it. I think it's a great game.
What do you think of this wine review to close off the podcast,
I
James?
prefer the last one.
Really? This one's a bit softer. I'm trying to get... here we go. Syrah. That's the grape that we're drinking right now. I think that's very important. Because the one we had previously was like 97% Merlot. And this is Syrah. So note, Syrah is softer than Merlot.
What, softer in what way?
In the way that you can taste right now.
So I'd say I tasted this one as being like more sour.
Really?
Yeah.
I got mellow vibes from it. We drink... What?
Is it mellow?
Well, we've got much to learn, James. We're obviously not on the same page here. I definitely poured it from the same bottle.
If any of you are a sommelier,
Yeah,
please let us know.
Please tell us.
I'm still saying compare. I don't think it's sour, but compared to the last one.
Right. Well, there we go. I've been Harry.
I've been James, and this has been Wine, and it's caused confusion.
And that's the Tea Can Echo podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night. We're about to have some dinner, watch the first episode of The Wheel of Time, which I'm hyped about. Hype. But before that, we've got to plan the behind the scenes of the album. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for watching the video or listening to the podcast.
Thank you.
We appreciate you all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. For a bit.